Welcome to If Taps Could Talk, a brand new series in association with Beamish. Lads, there's nothing better than an Irish pub, and let's face it, they're like sacred spaces here in Ireland. The best pub has the perfect spot for you to sit down and watch people go by. You know what, sometimes the decor hasn't been changed in a good while, and you know the barman has seen and heard it all. Pubs aren't just about drink, there's so much more to it. But you know what makes having a pint even better? That's sharing an experience with someone else. Across this series, we are going to be looking at some of the most iconic pubs in Ireland. The ones with genuine character, untold history, and bucket loads of charm. We'll be looking at what makes each pub so iconic and why it's held so dearly to the locals. So whether you're here for the company, the chat, or a pint, pull yourself up a chair and let's get started. Today we're coming to you from Grogan's, one of Dublin's most beloved pubs. It is one of the beating hearts of the city centre. It was built in the 18th century, and I don't know anyone who doesn't walk past Grogan's without looking in to see the crack, the chats that people have, the pints that are pouring. It is such a beautiful pub, and let's not forget the ham and cheese toasties as well. Grogan's is the place to be. Our guest today is a humanitarian. He's an activist. He's an animal lover, a DJ. He's gone from New York to Ukraine to Syria. He's a true dub, and he's right beside me here now, bigging you up. It's Calvin James Sweeney, everybody. Calvin, welcome to If Taps Could Talk here in Grogan's.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's pretty cool to have this place to ourselves today, isn't it?
It is. It's a first. Definitely a first.
If Taps could talk, what would they say about Grogan's for you?
For me, well, Grogan's is kind of important in my life even before I was born. So my dad used to come here, and when my parents were having my sister or their first child, they didn't know what she was going to be or what it was going to be at the time. So a daughter was born, and it was decided that my father would name the girls and my mum would name the boys. So after the birth, it kind of put the sap in him. So he came here and he met a few friends. He was sitting over here and he was like, lads, I need a name. So they just started knocking out all these names, you know.
It's a proper Dublin outfit, isn't it? Like, well, it brings you back to the snapper. It brings you back to this, yeah.
Well, he's a Donegal man now, you know. So so he's just going through the names and nothing sticking. And the man was sitting here and just said, Tanya. And my dad's like, excuse me? And your man's like, Tanya. He's like, what? He's like, Tanya, for the name, Tanya. My dad's like, oh, I like that, you know. I was like, your man's like, yeah, it's Russian. So my dad finished his pint back up to the rotunda and was like, so what do you think of Tanya? And my mum was like, oh, I love it. Where's it from? Russia. So that kind of stuck. And that's my sister. So yeah.
That is incredible.
That's my introduction to Grogan's, even before I was born, you know.
What is it about this pub?
Yeah, well, you know, I come here quite regularly, and when I do come here, I don't usually plan to meet anybody. I wouldn't call anyone up and go, let's go to Grogan's. Sometimes now in the summer, but most of the time I would just wamble in myself with a book under my arm, and I'll sit down and I'll either, you know, have a pint and a chaser and read my book, or you'll bump into someone you haven't seen in 20 years and catch up with them, or there'll be some Yank sitting beside you who loves Ireland, and you can bend the ear off him for an hour and a half.
The one thing I like about this is it's a solace for no music, or you don't see people on their phones. Mm-hmm. And I've kind of found, you know, throughout the years that you're in these places, and a new one now is lads with their laptops on bars, and I know they're working and all that, but when you come here, it's a conversation. This is probably one of the only places in Dublin that kind of has that. You know, like the culture kind of at the minute is that we have this phone and we have to be in it constantly. But when you come in here, you have all ranges of people. They're having a chat, they're having a sambo.
Yeah, well, I think that people recognise Grogan's as the institution that it is. It hasn't really changed at all in a long time, and people know that, you know, if you do want to just go for a pint, or as I said, on your own terms, and you want to get away from the bullshit, you don't have to worry about someone sitting here going on TikTok looking at the first 3 seconds of the worst shit of all time. It's quiet, it's busy, no one's shouting, no one's singing, no one's on their phones. Everyone's just enjoying the experience.
Where do you sit? This is the important part.
I sit in the third chair down there. It's always free. I don't know what's going on. Like the place is full, but there's always just that one. Either the third or the fourth chair.
I'm going to say it, I've never sat at the bar before.
Okay.
I think I'm a bit nervous because, you know, Mo's with a couple of people were always outside or sitting in one of the little booths there as well. How do you get to here?
I've always just been a kind of a bar fly, you know, just get up at the bar, get chatting to the barman. Let him know your presence, you know. You're not getting priority, but you're not forgotten, you know.
So Grogan's is known for its community, people coming in here together, catching up. Who are you coming in here with?
Well, yeah, as I touched on it before, it's rare that you would walk by Grogan's without, you know, seeing someone that you know. Could be someone that you haven't seen in 20 years, could be someone who you saw the last time you walked by here. But yeah, the last couple of times it's been friends who live abroad. So I've a good friend, Paul, from New York, and his brother was getting married. He religiously comes here. He's very particularly set about his ways. He knows what he likes and he likes to do it. So he organised 8 of us.
Cheers, thanks very much.
Thanks. He organised 8 of us to commandeer that corner there. The Toasties were flying.
So your perfect day in Dublin, tell us about it.
I would toddle in, I'd buy some records around town, and I would always nip in here for a toasty. Like you said, I'm fond of the cheese, ham, onion one myself.
What is it? Why do people not like the onion in it?
Or put tomato in it, no.
Yeah, burn the mouth off you. Yeah.
So yeah, a couple of pints of Beamish, I'd chase it with the Bushmills Caribbean rum. I don't know if I'm the only person who drinks it, But yeah, it's a nice pairing, and then I'd head on about my way.
This is Dublin. This is safe. This is lovely. This is what the Yanks, when they come over, this is what they want to see.
Yeah, because Dublin's changing quite a lot, you know, like there's a lot of gentrification happening in certain areas, particularly up around the Liberties, a lot of hotels.
Yes, actually, yeah.
You know, Dublin is kind of getting very vanilla, you know, so it's really important that we keep and cherish these institutions the way they are.
Dan, when people find out that you work here and this is your baby, like what are the conversations? What are the stories that follow straight afterwards?
There's been a few mental ones over the years. There was one time I was in Laos backpacking and doing this thing called tipsy tubing, where you basically float down a river in an inflatable tube and stop off at a load of bars and have a few drinks.
He's nearly as bad as you.
I don't know about that now. But sure, we're sat there at second bar and just get chatting to a couple. And next thing you know, she's Irish, she's Scottish, live over in Edinburgh, and they start asking, you know, about Dublin, saying, this is what's your favourite pub? And I says, oh, well, I'm biased to work back home in Grogan's. And the faces just completely dropped and they go, you're taking the piss out of us. I was like, no, honest to God. And so next thing, he whips out his phone, starts scrolling, shows me a picture that they have hung on their wall of a delivery truck, the first delivery truck outside here after COVID, a picture I actually took and posted on Grogan's.
I remember that photograph.
That he had got framed for their anniversary and it was hanging on their sitting room wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's so many genuine characters in here. What is it about Grogan's compared to other pubs around the world? Like myself and Calvin have been talking about that, but you being here every day and seeing it.
I think it's a really unique place, and as you said, unique characters all throughout the years. Obviously, my grandfather Tommy and Paddy Kennedy bought the pub in 1973, and like one person who really embodied that character was a man called Sean Carney. And Sean was a barman here. He passed away sadly last year for 53 years. He actually predated Paddy and Tommy in the pub and worked here up until 6 weeks before he passed last year. And like, God, if Carney could tell you some of the stories he had here over the years. And he did tell a few of them, and not many of them would be fit for camera, but he saw all sorts. But he also saw the development of the pub, you know, like through the literary years when Paddy O'Brien come up, and then moving into the more modern context, and it's quite a young and vibrant place. And so Carney oversaw 3 or 4 generations here, and like he was an icon here, and he, to me, is what embodies a true character and what has made this pub such a special place over the years.
When you walk into Grogan's, myself and Calvin have been talking about the beautiful artwork that's been hanging on the walls, and your granddad, I think, was a big part of that.
Yeah, and like in fairness to Paddy and Tommy, it was something that was really important to them to champion the art, because obviously you had a lot of artists drinking here, and as people know, it's not always easy to make money as an artist. You know, it could be quite tough times. So it was really important to them that this was used as a space to exhibit their work, commission free, and you know, just give them the chance to get their name out there. Like, we've been hanging art on the wall here since, I think the first picture was hung here by a Limerick artist called Brian McMahon in 1989, and Brian's work still hangs on the wall to this day. And so that continuity, and it's something that we're really keen to foster and continue to grow going forward.
Incredible. There's one more thing we want to say, Dano. Can we have 2 pints of Beamish?
No bother, lads.
There you go. How did you come about of the DJing? Like, because you've been everywhere. Like,
so when I started DJing, most of my friends growing up in Blanche and Carpenterstown were DJs. They were greedy DJs, you know. You'd go to their gaff and they'd be on the decks, and they wouldn't give you a shot on the decks. You just have to sit there and watch them train wrecking mix after mix, and they were into the kind of the trancier stuff.
I was just going to say that because late 90s, early 90s, trance was always...
Yeah, and it wasn't really my bag, and I wasn't really into it. But then I used to listen to Power FM, and there was a lad, Al Hickey, who was President Hickey of the Olympic Committee, his son. He was a great house DJ, and just every record he was putting on, I was like, what is that? Like, this is dance music, but it's not shite, you know? So just got into it that way. And I had no aspirations of playing in front of a crowd. I just really liked collecting music and mixing by myself. It was all about the music, you know? So I moved to New York for a summer, ended up staying there a couple of years. So there's some amazing shops out there. One in particular was called Satellite. And I was in there every week, blowing my wages on records. And I went to a bar called Sullis, which is on 9th Street. It's owned by 2 brothers from Belfast. So it was an Irish pub, but it wasn't an Irish pub. It was painted black.
Owned by an Irish fella. Yeah.
2 lads. And they had great music on. So got chatting to the lads, and they're like, do you want to maybe play here on Friday? So I rocked in and made the balls of it. But they were like, do you want to come back next Friday? So that kind of started with that, and I started to enjoy it. And then I got another residency down the road in a place called the Leopard Lounge on 5th. I did there every Saturday. And yeah, it just kind of took off. So by the time I came home, I joined the Body Tonic Collective in 2002. And that was the start of it, really. Yeah.
That Dublin scene around that time, I remember for me, it was like 2005, 2006, I started going out. It was creative, wasn't it? Like, there was so many places that everyone went to. Like, where were the haunts that you had that was that scene, the house scene in Dublin?
And again, like, you know, I'm 47 now, and I think anyone in the game kind of looks back at their time going, it was the best time, you know. And then you have the guys who are in their early 50s now, yokes were stronger, you know, all this nonsense, you know. But everyone goes back to their time. But I do honestly think that the best time, you know, it was pre-phones. Everyone just in it for the music. Would have been around 2002, like for the next 6-8 years. I do think that was the best time. And you remember the Slate magazine?
Yes, I do.
They used to have their listings. Slate magazine. They were always very kind to me as well. They weren't kind to everybody, but anytime I got a mention, I was like, geez, I got away with that. But you just go into the listings, and there'd be more going on in Dublin than there would be in Paris and London combined. Like, they'd have Richie Houghton over here, they'd have Kerry Chandler over here. They'd just, like, week in, week out, there was just so much to do, and so many venues as well.
Looking at the music scene today in Dublin, does it kind of break your heart sometimes when you see that it's not as big as it was in 2006, 2007?
Yeah, well, you know, we're losing a lot of venues now. If you are following Sunil Sharp or the Give Us a Night campaign, you can just see the dire situation that we're in. The draconian laws that we have. We have the earliest closing times in Europe, which gives clubs very short windows to do anything and to make money, because it's always been an Irish thing that, you know, like the club would shut at 2:30, 3, but sure, no one's going to get there till 12, you know, like I remember just played a lot in Kennedy's, and I was doing warm-up duty for a lot of the big guns, the likes of Ivan Smag and Luke Vibert and these guys, and I'd be on from, let's say, 11 to 1, and you're playing to absolutely nobody until 15 minutes before the main guy comes on, and then people just come in, bosh it for 2 hours, and then, right, get out, you know. So it's a very difficult situation for artists to have a consistent living. It's very difficult for nightclubs to make money, you know, because you have to go in, you have to staff the place, and sure, you're only open for a couple of hours. So it's just a very difficult situation for everybody, and, you know, things really need to change.
With New York, just going back to that for a second, that was till 6 a.m, wasn't it? Like, that was the proper of how it should be and how it probably Dublin should be.
Yeah, because I went until at least 4, but I didn't really go to any of the after clubs because, again, I wasn't really into the scene. I just wanted to play my music and go home. And I was also working in construction as well.
How did that go?
During the day, it was awful.
People sell you this dream, don't you, that you go to New York, you're doing this, you're doing that, but you're working non-stop.
Yeah. It was pretty tough. Yeah, I was working with a company called On Par, run by a lad. I can't even remember his name, but his nickname was Mel. Mel from Drogheda.
Where was he from? Oh, Drogheda. Oh, jeez.
Mel from Drogheda. So, he had about 600 lads working for him, and, you know, no regard for health and safety.
Did they know you were a DJ?
No.
What was that about? Because I've noticed people who have gone to places like that, and they kind of leave this double life of the worker during the day and the DJ at night.
The lads, it was something that you didn't want to kind of bring up. You know? The last thing you want to do is see some of these heads at your gigs. So it's just.
He's a bit of a DJ myself, isn't that what they say?
Not on these sides, no.
Okay, Calvin, stay with us. We've more to talk about, but we'll be back to you after this. Welcome back to If Cats Could Talk here in Grogan's, and we're here with Calvin James Sweeney. Did you ever think that being in New York, DJing, that it would have brought you into a different part of your life? Humanitarian, activist, raising money, and DJing in, I'm going to say it, some of the most scariest places in the world.
No, not at all. Yeah, I just kind of coasted through life, didn't really have any plans. And then it was when I got back from Barcelona, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and my ex-girlfriend suggested care work. And then after several years in that, I kind of burnt out after my mother's death. You know, I went back to work straight away. I was working in a really intense environment and just ended up burning out. And it happens to people who work in social care. Like, you're eventually gonna.
And then adding a debt to that as well, I think sometimes kind of makes you kind of go, Jesus, it's like a reset in life.
Yeah. And again, didn't handle that well, you know, so it was just like, life was kind of chaotic in my mind at the time. And so I got a job as a special needs assistant in a special school on the north side, and I loved it. I loved it so much. It was the ideal job. I was great with the kids. They loved me. The parents loved me. It was just a beautiful environment to be working in, but it was Groundhog Day.
Okay.
You went in every day. It was the same thing over and over. Yeah, and like, you know, being an SNA in Ireland, it's very tough. The money is awful. You can't live on it. And I just got to a point where I was like, you know, is this what you wanted out of life? You know, when I was younger, I had, you know, I had thought that I would have this really adventurous life. You know, I used to read these magazines of, you know, SAS guys who, like, they'd swim to France and then they'd climb up this cliff face and go into a castle and start breaking there. I was just like, that's what I thought life would be like when I was 8 years old. While the Islamic State thing was kicking off, I was just kind of looking at that like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity in my lifetime. And, you know, the old you, the 8-year-old you would be all over this. So, you know, I made just a drastic decision that I was like, no, you know, I'm going to go over there and do what I can do.
what did you think at that stage? What could you do? Like,
Well,
for me looking in, like, are you going to fight? Are you going to raise funds?
Yeah. Well, I thought I was going to fight at the start, but then, you know, common sense prevailed.
Yeah.
And
did people try and stop you?
Oh, yeah. It's a running joke now that, you know, whenever I'm going anywhere, you know, someone has to pop over to my house and find my passport and rip it up. Long story short, I found myself in 2016 working as a medic in northeastern Syria, because with the care system work, I did a lot of intimate care in nursing homes. And, you know, I was very honest with the people over there. I'm like, look, this is what I've done. But when you get to Syria as well, because when the refugee situation happened in or around the Syrian civil war, it was very expensive to leave Syria. So a lot of the people that did initially leave were people who could afford to do it. So a lot of the doctors, if not most of them, left. So when I started working as a medic, I found that there was very few doctors working. You know, you had nurses doing surgery, wow. You had anaesthetists and dentists who were becoming kind of senior doctors. So me, with my little bit of experience, they were all over that.
Were you ever at a moment where you went, Jesus, this is it now?
Yeah, well, I was there about 6 months, and my dad's birthday, July 27th, and I'd just been on the front line for 2 weeks. It was my first time on the Islamic State front line, and when I got back to base, everyone was like, yeah, you know, Calvin popped his cherry, come on, let's go out and celebrate. So again, the lads are like, he's Irish, so he likes to, you know, have a few drinks. So we ended up in this pub in the Armenian Quarter, and everyone ordered a drink. But then, you know, a lot of them didn't drink, so they were like, oh, what's this? I'm not into that. When I'd gotten back, I hadn't been online for about 12 days, and then someone showed me a photo of me, and it was me in scrubs, and it was like, please help, Irish doctor missing. Presumed kidnapped by the Islamic State. And I was like, looked at the date and it was a week ago, and it had 38,000 shares. And so I found the page and clicked on it, and it was all like, rest in peace, frowny face. I was just like, whoa, oh my God, my family. So I rang my dad, got on the satellite phone, and my dad's, you know, typical dad, who's that? It's me, I'm alive. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, you're not on Facebook, thank God, you know, but yeah, no, I'll call you tomorrow, you know. So that was a scare, and then all my friends were like, you know, you need to leave, you know, you've done your time.
But you didn't though, you went back, and back again,
well,
back again.
The next day, so after I did the dusty bin and all the gargles, there was the largest suicide bombing that happened in the Syrian civil war, happened about 700 meters from where we were staying. So it was, you know, I was lying there hungover going, and then just this bang, like the whole building kind of swayed, and we looked out the window, huge mushroom cloud. So we had to deal with that. So I got a call from Sharon Tobin, who is the anchor from 6-1 News. She called me and was like, are you in Kamishlo right now? I'm like, yeah. She's like, did you hear about the suicide bombing? I was like, yeah. And she's like, do you want to go on the news? On 6-1. I was like, yeah, let's do it, you know. So
people forget how many people watch that. It's one of the biggest shows in Ireland every night.
Yeah, and it was my dad's birthday, and he has a tradition that he goes to a pub around the corner, and they have TVs, but they don't have sound. So my whole family are sitting there, and I got friends in airports and everything, and everyone just watching, you know, whatever crap is on the telly, and then it was like 6-1, and then it's just carnage, and then my head pops up and so
can you remember it, or was that a blur because that happened? Like, surely to God your head's just kind of racing.
It was a bit of a blur, yeah, because it was just so intense. Like while we were driving to the scene of the bombing, like it had blown the windows out of every building for about 1 kilometer. So
wow,
we were just driving through broken glass and burning, and yeah, you're just running on adrenaline the whole time. Like, we worked for 3 days without stopping, just dealing with it, you know. So my poor father just like, oh my God, you know. So that was the moment that was like, look, you need to get out of there. But then, you know, leaving Syria was not an easy task, so it took about 3 weeks to get out.
So we're going from Syria and we're going to Ukraine. And looking at your Instagram over the past few days, I have been touched about the community that you have created over there, the work that you do, and it's got to do with animals. Can you tell us about that?
Well, with our last organization, we were working in Ukraine since the very start of the war.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this organization was folded down last year. So I set up a new one called the War Dog Foundation. And since I was setting up my own organization, it was kind of like, I'm in a position where I can do what I want. So about 2 years ago, I was in Bakhmut, which was the pivotal, just the worst part of the planet at the time. And we were helping people on the front lines, delivering generators. This was in February or March, so it was still free. Like Donbass is still pretty cold at that time. So we started coming under a bit of shelling. So we were like, right, we need to get out of here. And then this dog just ran up to us. And I was like, lads, come on, it's on my Instagram. So I was like,
I saw it, yeah.
Like, stick it in the boot, come on, let's go. And they were like, look, we can't, because we were working in an evacuation shelter that just had a no animal policy. So we just had to leave the dog there, and then we drove off. And I think about that dog quite a lot, you know. So when I was setting up my new organization, I was like, no, I want to help animals as well. So our tagline would be supporting all against conflict. So we're working with people, children, and animals. So I moved out to Ukraine this time last year, and we've been linked in with animal charities, schools on the front line, stuff like that. So
how bad is that? You know, when you're driving into areas that have been destroyed, people forget that when families have to leave and they have to move away, that sometimes the pets can't go.
Yeah.
I never ever thought about this before.
Yeah.
Until I was looking
You'll
at your
see
Instagram.
gangs of, like, you know, there'd be 30 dogs.
Like house pets.
Yeah, but now they're, you know,
Like feral
they're
kind of.
fending for themselves.
Jesus Christ.
But animals, you know, they find a way. You know? So yeah, we found some amazing shelters to work with. So we're working with one in Kharkiv. It's a cat shelter. It's a crazy place. Like it's about the size of Grogan's, and there's 300 cats in it. And I asked the woman I was like, how do they all get along? And she's like, well, they know that they have no choice, you know. So and we're working with another one in Kherson, Mykolaiv, and just going back to community regarding this, because we don't get any international funding, we don't get any big funding, and I've always liked to think that or whatever I'm doing, I'm acting as a conduit for someone else, because people are like, I want to help here, I want to do this, but I don't know how to. I don't know who to get in touch with, because again, with a lot of organizations, you don't know who you're going with. So, and when people are like, oh, you know, fair play to what you're doing, it's like, I'm not doing anything. We're all doing it. I'm just a guy who's delivering it. But like, I wouldn't be able to do this without you, or you, or you. So if you want to help, I'm helping you help. You know, so that's how my community works.
If people do feel like that, they're like, oh God, how do I give money? What do I do? And I remember you saying something about an artist going, can you paint? You can paint. Do a painting, put it up for auction, hang it up here in Grogan's, and we'll take the money and we'll put it out. And do people realize that's how simple it is to help organizations like yours?
Yeah.
Like, that's mad.
But
like,
people
that's
doing
so
pub
easy.
quizzes, and we've had kids doing bake sales, and you know, like we had this one at the start of the Ukrainian war, and like these two kids, they were like selling lemonade at their driveway, and it was like, here's like 67 quid, and it's just like, oh God.
With the artwork, you've done an auction before. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, so my brother founded a charity. I co-founded it with him, the Scoop Foundation. And when we started, we did an art auction where we reached out to artists, a lot of the artists whose work is on the walls here, if they would donate a painting. So at the time, we were building a school in Cambodia. And again, with the Irish, very generous, good response to that. And it did very well, so we decided to do it annually. So from about 2009 up until 2023, 2022, yeah, we did an art auction every year. And yeah, the art community were very kind to us. We wouldn't have been able to do any of the work without the art community. So
We've kind of mentioned it before about it's free to put the artwork on the walls. Do you think that's something that's only Dublin? That's like, I don't think there's a good turn in people to do that elsewhere.
Can't imagine it without the artwork, to be honest.
What do you feel when you see all this when you're coming in? Because it's not just one genre. Like if you're looking around here now, it's everything.
Yeah, and it kind of changes quite a lot as well. So you could come in a month's time and, you know, half of these would be down and there'd be more artworks up as well.
Calvin, the foundation for people that can help you and help the people of Ukraine and everywhere else is the War Dog Foundation. Why is a very bad word to ask, but like, what happens when people donate to this foundation?
Well, yeah, I would go to Ukraine and, you know, whatever I have at my disposal, I will buy whatever they need, because some of the shelters, they might be covered by an organization. So the one in Kharkiv, they get their food from PETA, you know, but then when I met them, they're like, we don't have any dog leads. We have absolutely no dog leads.
They're simple things that people forget about.
You know, yeah, you go out and you buy them dog leads and just, oh, we need this medication, that, because with the cat shelter I mentioned, they do a fostering service as well. So cats get fostered out, but there's no shortage of cats coming in. So they all need to get wormed. They all need different surgeries and vaccinations. So yeah, that's kind of what the money's been going on now.
Do you get emotional? Or have you blocked that out?
I did block it out, you know, and then I think when you kind of take a break from it, that you have time to think, because when you're in the zone for so long and just continuously in the zone, you don't have time to think about it. You know, like when I was in Syria, I met this doctor who hadn't had a day off in 600 days.
Oh my God.
And he was fine because he never took a day off. He was in the zone.
Is there not something in your mind that you're kind of going, I am dicing with my life here? Or is it that thing that you're helping animals, you're helping communities, you're giving that release to people?
Well, that's what keeps you going in the long and the short run. But the key is to surround yourself with experienced people, and you know, they know what to do. These people have a lot of experience. They've been in all sorts of situations. So when you're told to sit down and shut up, you sit down and shut up. When you're told to stand up and stand over there and shut up, you do that. So you just surround yourself with people with experience and just follow their lead, do what you're told, and don't do anything stupid.
Your Instagram you posted up was a 20-year anniversary.
Yeah.
Where was that? What was that? Tell us about it.
Well, I had two. 2004 was a good year for me. So it was the year of the first picnic, and Body Tonic were running the dance temps. So I was kind of toying around with doing this 4-deck set, because I moved in with a hip hop DJ, Carl O'Sullivan, aka Chaos. He's down in Kerry now. And he introduced me to kind of the hip hop style of DJing, and house music and hip hop were kind of, from a technique point of view, were very separate. Like they've very rarely crossed paths. The hip hop technique kind of bled into techno sometimes, but not with house music. So at the time, I was unemployed. I had a lot of time on my hands, no girlfriend or anything. So I just focused entirely on this. And it was when the picnic was a one-day affair, and it was tiny. So yeah, I had a big tent full of people, and it was pretty amazing.
Who was the headline that year? Can you remember?
Jurassic 5, Super Furry Animals, Grandmaster Flash, and myself.
Is that mad? to think about that?
No, I wasn't. I'm not even on the poster.
But look, you're there. You're the very first picnic.
Yeah.
You know, people are going to All Together now. Like that's probably the new one now, and they're talking about the first picnic or Witness. Do you remember Witness as well? That was in Fairy House.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I remember. Again, it's what we were talking about here. You know, lads in their 50s will be going, I remember the good old times, 40s, 30s. Was it as crazy and mental crack as it is in these days? Can you, or were you very much about the business side like New York? you know.
I haven't been to a picnic now in I haven't been to a festival in 5 years. Life Festival 2019 was the last one. I played at that one as well, under the moniker of Fat Ronaldo.
Okay, let's talk. Why? What? How?
I just change my name sometimes. So Martin, who was running it, was like, "Do you want to play in the Index tent?" So yeah, sure. So I was like, "What name do you want to use?" And I was just like, "Fat Ronaldo." So the poster came out, and there it was. It's like, this is deadly. So
what else did you have? Can you say of other names that you've had throughout the years?
Paddy McSemtex, Rick Streitner, King 10 Suited. That's all I can think of right now. But yeah, when I was walking into Life Festival, it was pretty late and I had to go in through general population. So I'm hauling my records and there was these two young lads behind me and they're like, so who are you going to go see? And I was like, MK's on at this time and then Green Velvet's on after that. But I'm going to go see this Fat Ronaldo lad. Who's that? I don't know, but I'm not...
Calvin, it has been a pleasure sharing a couple of pints of Beamish with you today. Thank you very much. Keep up your good work. And thanks for talking to us today.
Cheers.
Good talk. Cheers.